Hi, Dav here, and today we have a new episode in the product review series, and today we'll be checking out the WOOMER 72 colors acrylic marker set. So they did send me a color pencil set before, and I did enjoy that set, but thankfully they were kind enough to send me this set of acrylic markers. So I've had a couple of acrylic markers sent before by a different brand, ArtX, a very popular one, but I did not know that WOOMER had its own version, and it is quite different. For example, the packaging itself, or the box that it comes in, it's not like a typical box. It's kind of unique in that it's sort of separated into different sections, and each section kind of goes it's sort of analogous to each other. So it kind of makes it convenient because maybe you want a brush or a color that's kind of just reds or yellows. So it kind of separates things into those kinds of categories, and I think it's just very convenient. And you can move it around as well. You can change the order of things because they have clips on the side which you can lock or unlock. And I think it's just a very unique way of doing a box for markers. It's also different in that you don't have to raise it, because for the ArtX, the advice is you have to set it on top, meaning you have to set it vertically so that the ink sort of flows to the tip. Here they do advise it that you lay the markers horizontally, so it kind of goes with the packaging itself. So it's very convenient. It's because how often do you use pens in a vertical, unless you have a pencil, like a cup for pens and pencils, sure, but for me, I tend to lay things down in a horizontal way anyway. And I think for ArtX, they did have a box where it was automatically, with the packaging, the pens, the markers, they're set vertically. But for a lot of the other types, it's the same marker, but it's a different color set. It's laid horizontally, but they advise it to be laid vertically, which doesn't make sense. So for WOOMER here, I think they get it right, meaning the packaging and how it's supposed to be laid is it all fits. There's no contradicting kind of thing. And yeah, 72 colors, that's a lot. That's a lot of colors. I wasn't even able to use most of it. First of all, I'm not a traditional guy, but I do like sketching once in a while and experimenting with traditional mediums. And I do like the idea of pens and markers way more than, say, watercolor painting or watercolor brushes or gouache brushes, just because I'm not, it just takes too much of a setup to do those kinds of things. So having a marker, whether alcohol based or in this case acrylic based, it's just a lot more convenient for me. It also says in the packaging that it's water based, it's waterproof, and it's odorless. And so far, yeah, I think that's my experience when using these markers. Also, I think the most important thing is the tip, because it's not like the ArtX acrylic markers where it's a lot more solid and much more it's very similar to brush tips like that of the Copic markers or other alcohol based markers, where it's kind of a solid firm thing. It's meant to be used heavily in a way. But I think for these markers, the brush tip is kind of sensitive. It's very close to an actual watercolor brush. So if you're kind of deliberate or a little more sensitive with how you use with pens in general, I think you're going to enjoy this. Oh, if you've used the Pocket Brush Pen by Pilot, the very popular one that Kim Jung-gi likes, if you like using that, or if you have used it and you're kind of okay with it, I think you will enjoy these markers a lot, because they have the kind of sensitivity. They can go to a very fine point to a very thick point. I mean, yes, the ArtX can do that as well, but it's not this goes a step further, and it's kind of thin. The brush tip is kind of thin compared to the ArtX ones. So it's a bit different in terms of the firmness, the thickness, and the sensitivity. These ones are way more sensitive. So it's nice to have both. If you want to go for harsher, more bolder strokes, you can go for the ArtX. For more sensitive, more if you're treating your piece like it's a watercolor painting, not that you want watercolor effects, but you just want a more sensitive approach. or a more specific approach or more delicate approach, I think these markers will help you with that. And yeah, I did a couple of sketches. I was gonna do like a bunch of sketches or paintings with these markers without like a sketch, but I'm not confident in my ability, so I just stuck to normal sketches. I think I used like a ballpoint pen, some felt tip pens to do these. So I combined the look of like the ink look, basically black, along with, or combining those with some, in terms of color, with these markers. I think in the beginning I tried doing some pen sketches, meaning the sketch can stand on its own without any color, and the acrylic markers were kind of used to like complement the inks. And I think it's okay, but I also had another session where I tried doing a sketch where I would go back and forth between the paint or the markers, the acrylic markers, and the pen. And in this way, I think the acrylic markers did a bit more work. And when you do this kind of thing, you do have to think more of shapes and negative shapes, because you want to be able to suggest edges and stuff like that without using lines, you know, through like a ballpoint pen, a pencil. And having the sort of mixed look where you have some parts in pen, some parts in made with this like acrylic markers, I think it's a good look in my opinion. Now I may feature, I'm not sure if I'll even show it, but I did try drawing an anime person. You know, I did just Pinterest for most of these sketches for references, but yeah, I think for my last sketch I tried doing this guy. Like the sketch, the ballpoint pen sketch was kind of good, but when I tried coloring it, brutal, guys. It was painful for me. And honestly, I'm just not gonna, maybe I'll share, like, you know what, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not sharing because it's too, maybe I'll show you this sketch that I did with a ballpoint pen. But if for someone who's like good with colors, especially with stuff like skin tones, I had the same problem, by the way, when using Artex markers. I think regardless of the medium, I have trouble with skin tones, especially if it's like traditional, whether paintbrushes, markers, color pencil. It isn't clicking for me. I think I'm so used to pencil and ballpoint pens that my color sort of mind has specifically the traditional side is sort of atrophied to the point where it doesn't even exist. So I think we need to, as a side note, we need to accept our losses. And would it be nice to dominate every single medium? Sure. But we need to be realistic. I just lean more on digital art than traditional art. But I think with markers like these, I think it can, or it's more likely that it can pull you away for a bit from your digital artwork, only because it's such an interesting medium to use, right? It's not a brush where you have to dip the paint. The ink is already in the marker. I mean, you do have to shake it a little bit. That's fine. Before starting to still loosen up the paint or ink. But once you start adding those strokes, it feels so natural. Again, if you've used, like, again, a pocket brush pen or a very fine watercolor brush, you know, those with super thin fine tips, you will feel that same feeling when using these markers. And what's cool is they're acrylic, so that means it's gonna be more opaque. Now it won't be 100% opaque. It's like with the Artex markers as well. Yes, some pens, some markers will have more opaqueness than others. I think you can shake things, sure, but I think it's a reality that it won't always be super opaque, like 100%. Sometimes you will see a little bit of opacity depending on the marker you pick, but it will mostly lean on average on the opaque side, meaning it won't be as watercolor-esque. So that's a good thing. At least it's somewhat reliable. So all in all, it was a good experience. I did enjoy it using these, and it's nice to have, right? Like all of the other markers I have and color pencils, pens. If you need something quickly done and you don't want to, you know, set things up with your watercolor or gouache paintbrushes or oil paint, it's too much work. If for someone who's like, if you want a convenient approach, if you're more of a sketchbook person, meaning you just like making most of your artwork in your sketchbook, or maybe you are kind of like me, where you do more traditional, not traditional, but digital artwork. I think having stuff like these, it's good, it looks good, it feels good, and it's super freaking convenient. And I think that's what we want, and that's what we need nowadays. So I do recommend these WOOMER acrylic markers. 72 colors. I mean, 72, that's a lot. More than enough colors to fulfill your desires, right? And to pretty much tackle any topic. Maybe I'll do some sketches in the future, paintings, quick concepts, traditionally, using these as well, along with the other markers I have. But yeah, that's it for now. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you check out these markers by WOOMER. I know they're kind of a new brand. They're not as popular, kind of like ArtX, but I think these have some potential and I do recommend them. So thanks again, big thanks again to WOOMER for sending me this. I know it's been a couple of months since they've given me this or sent me this, so my bad. But I do recommend these acrylic markers by WOOMER. So thank you again to WOOMER for this product. Anyway, that's it. Hopefully enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.